Hello world, my name is Jacob Donn, and you are listening to Talk About It, a show that dives deep into substance abuse and addiction to uncover stories of hope and resilience. Today is July 22nd, 2024, and we are going to be talking about sports. There's something magical about how sports can unite people from diverse backgrounds and cultures. But for one Delaware coach, sports isn't just about entertainment. It's a way to foster personal development and prevention. Joseph DeVane, also known as Coach Joe, is the grant coordinator at the Delaware Ducks, as well as the assistant football coach at the Caravel Academy Buccaneers. Coach Joe, the topic of sports is a first on this podcast, and I'm very excited to talk about it. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm great. Thanks for having me.
So for our audience at home, could you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your journey in prevention from the beginning until now?
Well, I've been involved in athletics for a number of years. I'm 58 years old. I'm originally from Prince George's County in Maryland, where I played youth football, right, high school football, and then I ascended to the Pennsylvania area where I played college football at Cheney University, and then started my coaching career there some 30 years ago. After that, I moved on into sports administration, serving as an assistant athletic director at Delaware State University. And after taking off a number of years, I realigned myself with football again when I had my son, Joseph DeVane Jr., and we got involved with the Middletown, Odessa youth football program about that's about 10 years ago. And that's when I started coaching again, getting on the journey. And then, today I'm actually the assistant football coach at the Caravel Academy state champion Buccaneers. And my journey really, with regards to how that journey took me to helping to get involved with substance misuse prevention with young people was just really a determination that I've always had, and that's to let young people know that this great game of football has so many other opportunities in it. It has other opportunities for us as coaches. And, 4 years ago, I was fortunate enough to get a grant from the Department of Youth Services in the state of Delaware to allow us to provide substance misuse prevention information to young people. And it felt so natural because we were already kind of focused on providing a whole approach to our young people. We wanted them definitely to learn the game of football that we all loved, and we thought, or I think, and most of the people that align with me think is the greatest team sport there is, right? But it's also a great opportunity for us to be able to deliver important messages to fully develop our young people. A lot of times they don't realize everything that they need, and that's where we as coaches have to come in and just kind of mold them and say, hey, listen, I know you're here for this, but while you're here, we're going to give you a little bit of that. And that's how we kind of was like a match made in heaven, because the department was looking for an opportunity to come up with a unique program to deliver a very important message.
Wow. Absolutely. You have undeniably a lot of experience with the game of football. And of course, right now, you are the grant coordinator with the Delaware Ducks, which is an organization that I'm sure a lot of members of our audience have never heard about before. I personally have heard of the Ducks, but could you explain what exactly is the Delaware Ducks and its history and its structure?
Well, the Delaware Ducks youth football organization is a group of young student athletes, because even when they're 6 years old, they're student athletes. Right? They actually were a spinoff from the Middletown Odessa football league. Coach John Vickers and at that time, Coach Dan Black had a vision to start a youth football organization in the northern part of the state that would travel around to different areas within the tri-state area to play competitive football. And from there, we moved over from the Middletown Odessa league, and from there, it's history. We were able to attract a bunch of great young student athletes that now are competing at a high level in the the Delaware Scholastics football league and surrounding areas, and they're still in force today, doing great things with aligning young people with the great game of football.
So, what are the ages of the student athletes playing with the Ducks?
Well, they start as young as 7, yeah, and they go up to 14 years old. And again, they compete against other teams, the same age groups in the tri-state area. Most of the teams that the Ducks play are from Maryland and Delaware, although they do travel outside of the state when they go to tournaments as far as Florida and Tennessee. And I will say this, I mean, they have been the coaches that partake in the leadership roles with the Ducks that do a great job at not only coaching, but just delivering great messages to the young people that, see this as an opportunity, parents that see this as an opportunity to help, develop their youth in what I call some very critical age groups.
So we've talked quite a bit about football and about the Ducks, and we will talk a lot about prevention, how you tie those two together. But before we get into that, I'm curious, what exactly stands out about football when it comes to perhaps teaching life lessons or prevention? How is it different from, say, basketball, soccer, baseball, etc.?
Well, I will say this to you: any sport that requires teamwork is a sport or a opportunity to foster life lessons. I just think personally, because of the engagement that we provide as football coaches, it just provides a higher level of different types of life skills. And number one, top of the list is teamwork. Beyond the game of football, whether it's in your household, whether it's in your school, whether it's on your job, teamwork is something that if you're good at, you can fall in line and play an important role in the in that process. And we think that, along with attitude, discipline, right, hard work ethic, just having a high level of energy, right, are all important facets of being part of a football program that provides you some lessons that really, like I said, just take you in when you're finished playing football. These are things that employers and people that are providing scholarships look for when they're looking for candidates to run their organizations and to be critical parts of their structure.
Absolutely. I want to focus now on you and your work with the Ducks. In a phone call several weeks ago before you came on the show, you told me that one of your main objectives with the Ducks and with student athletes in general is to give players what they want, but also give players what they need.
Absolutely.
Could you elaborate on that?
Well, one of the things that I really thought about long and hard when we were applying for this grant was what would make us unique, right? What would make our drug prevention program any different from any other type of program that the department had provided a grant for? And I just immediately started thinking about how I looked at my coach and the things that I would do when he asked of me, because I wanted to get on the field to play, because I wanted to play that great game of football. And with that thought process, I said, listen, this is just a great opportunity for us to give them what they want, which is the game of football. And while they're with us, give them what they need. And I was just talking to a group of youngsters the other day at Caravel Academy for a sports camp. And I explained to the youngsters about how at a young age, their brains are like sponges. And it's a opportunity for them to really take in as much information as possible. So as football coaches, we're nothing but low-level teachers. When I say low-level teachers, meaning that we may not get the title as a teacher, but we are teachers. We're teachers of a skill with regards to football, but we're also a teacher of life lessons. And what it does is it allows us to be able to put any type of message that's in front of us and that we can get educated on it, then we can deliver it. And I believe, the Department of Youth Services provided us all the tools that we needed to be able to put together a program to deliver to our young people. And it really just started by us really just getting them together and having them come and look for one thing, but end up getting a multitude of things.
It's so excellent that an organization like the Ducks exists to actually foster this personal development. And I know you mentioned that you believe that coaches are, in fact, teachers. They may not necessarily always work in a school, but they are teachers. And that kind of brings to mind the bond between a teacher and a student and among the team in general. I know some organizations and members of those organizations have very strong bonds. Soldiers, in war often have very strong bonds. Could you tell us a little bit about the bond between coach and athlete, and perhaps how that may differ or how that provides more opportunities as opposed to a school teacher and student?
Well, let me first say that our overarching message is coaches are the key to collective messaging and collective impact, right? And with that concept, right, when you speak about the relationship, right there in that message, it lets you know that, our ability to communicate, right, with a young student athlete, right, is a little different than the teacher. It's a little different even than the parent, right? And because that relationship is different, it gives us an inside track. I've seen young folks come through the walls of the Ducks, kids that had problems at home, and the parents to write me letters and say, Coach Joe, I'm forever grateful for what you did to help my son turn his attitude around. Because, the approach that we take with young athletes, because they're getting something that they want, then they allow themselves to be more vulnerable as far as opening up to us, right? Allows us a chance to get inside where, a teacher or even sometimes a parent can't get there, right? The relationships that we are able to develop, right, are, not only are they relationships because they want to play football, but now you start to develop, friendships, right? Coach player friendships, right? That have a line for respect, because you still want to make sure that they understand that there is a superior subordinate relationship, right? But also understanding that it's a flexibility that they can talk to you. And with that, it just opens up so many opportunities to really develop the young student athletes, in different phases. Like I said, one, with regards to, what we're trying to teach them with regards to the game of football. And then two, all of the different life lessons, drug prevention, and any other subject matter, right, that's relevant, right, that can help to develop these young people. Right now, listen, let's just be transparent. Our generation that we're dealing with right now is dealing with issues that we probably never, as young people, or I should just speak for myself, never had to deal with, all the way from their sexuality, right? Drug prevention, right? The political things that have just kind of been transcended down to even, the middle school, high school area. And we as coaches, we have to be able to be in a position to be able to talk to them at a very basic level, right? Because their minds are like sponges and they're open when they come. Sometimes that's the happiest they've been all day. Hey, coach, how you doing? And those 2 hours or 2 hours of, sometimes for some young people, are 2 hours of just pure joy and relief from the other aspects of the world that they deal with on a regular basis.
When it comes to personal development and life lessons, giving players what they need, is there anything in particular you like to concentrate on in that regard?
Well, I'd like to kind of hone in when I'm talking to young athletes or really teaching young athletes to really focus on what I call the little things. A lot of times when these young athletes come to us, they want to be able to be like Tom Brady. They want to go to the NFL, right? Their aspirations are high, and we're not there, and I'm not there to diminish them, but to let them know that, listen, if these things don't work out right, these are some of the other things that you need to be thinking about. And with that, it opens up the door to let them know that, there's no way that you can even begin to think about trying to be a high level athlete unless you have the right attitude, right? Unless you're disciplined, right? Unless you're able to come in with the right mindset, right? To deal with what we're dealing with today, but also when you're dealing with things outside the door, outside of the field of play. So when we talk to young student athletes, and this is something that not only I approach, but my team of coaches understand that, listen, we need to, before we even really get deep into how good they are, is they need to understand that there's an established decorum, established demeanor, established way that they need to carry themselves, right? That's really bigger than the game of football. And that right there, when you as a coach understand those concepts, the other part is easy. When you come out to play football and you love it, you're going to work hard to get good at it, right? So that's the least of our worries, right? But how hard are you willing to work to come up to have the right attitude, right? To be disciplined, right? With being on time, to make sure that you understand that you have to be courteous to your fellow brothers, right? So these are all other concepts that we have to get them to buy in to, right? Once they buy into them, now you start getting what we call the whole athlete, right? The student athlete that is well-rounded. And a lot of times that's the student athlete that actually excels.
I want to switch gears here and focus on substance use and substance abuse. There are many risks that are prevalent to anyone. No one is immune from this. But specifically because you're a coach and because you have extensive experience in sports, what risks are especially significant when it comes to young athletes? So, of course, youth, but I would also like to know young athletes in particular.
Well, first of all, I think the biggest thing for young athletes is really peer pressure. A lot of times the drugs and the alcohol that young athletes get into, it's through curiosity, right? And it's through peer pressure, and it's for the first time. And these are because our young athletes, right, sometimes, do things because they want to fit in, right? They do things because they see other athletes doing them and they think that that's the right thing or the cool thing to do. So before we even get into the type of drugs, right, or the type of, right, it's about the mindset that they have to have when going into, just any arena. I was just talking to the group, like I said the other day. I mean, these were kids that were, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old. And I said, listen, you never can be too young, and you can never say that it'll never happen to you, right? But what you have to do is you have to be able to be open to being educated, right? And I think that it's important. Parents need to, I know a lot of parents say, I don't want you talking to my kid about drugs at this age. But no, because unfortunately and fortunately, the kids spend way more time away from us than they do with us. Besides sleeping in the bed, sitting at the dinner table, they're either playing video games with a teacher, right? Or they're out, with sports and stuff. So the amount of time that the parents actually have with their youngsters is really minimal, right? So it's really a critical part of our agenda with this grant is to educate them on, why to stay away before you even get involved, right? So the whole peer pressure piece, right? The whole education of, just saying no before it gets started is a big part of our approach. Now, of course, we need to take that up a notch once kids get older, because you know what? it's so prevalent in today's society that they have to be aware. They have to be aware because, I don't know the exact statistics, right? But, there's a high percentage of every group of youngsters that are, involved in drugs. So they have to be aware. They have to be knowledgeable about this. And that's where, we come in with having our prevention specialist that's plays a critical role at educating our youngsters about the drug prevention, misuse, and the types of drugs that are out there.
So I want to talk about you now. I want to talk about your mission, really. You've worked as a grant coordinator. You've coached football on multiple levels, even in college. Right now in your life, I am not a grant coordinator, but I know from talking to other people that it is not easy writing for, applying, and managing grants. I'm also not a football coach, but I know from other people that it's not easy. It takes a lot of work. So really what I'm wondering is, what gets you out of bed in the morning when it comes in the face of all this hard work and time and effort? What makes it all worth it?
I've always had a desire for sports in general, right? So it was always my dream to be able to coach. I've been blessed with the opportunity to own my own business and give me some level of flexibility to do some different things. So when I was really just doing what I love to do is coach football, this opportunity to actually get involved was a grant. I can't even take all the credit myself. I was able to, again, be blessed with a young lady that was a grant writer. I told her what I was trying to do. She stepped in. She helped me to write the grant. And here 3 years later, we're running one of the most successful opioid grants for the Department of Youth Services. And again, really my desire to help young people is really the foundation of it all. I mean, I have, three children. One's almost 40, one's 30, and then I have one that's 16 years old, so, kids have been part of my life, seems like all of my life. And, the ability to be able to still help them and help them in an area which is right now just really critical. Substance misuse prevention is, amongst one of the highest areas of needed education that we have and I'm just going to be specific in the state of Delaware. The statistics tell us that, our kids are moving in the wrong direction with the amount of abuse and use that's being, that the numbers are saying we're partaking in, and we just have to do, our small part to try to make sure that we're trying to keep as many of those young folks away from that as possible. And so that's just really my desire, is just to do what I can to keep developing young people and keep pointing them in the right direction.
Coach Joe, this has been such a thoughtful and unique conversation on both sports, on prevention and substance use. I'd like to close out this interview with one final question. Youth and youth athletes, just like everyone else, are vulnerable to substance use. And with so many rising trends of different substances and drugs, I know the fentanyl is a big one, xylazine, all these different substances and drugs. From your perspective as a coach, I'd like to know, in your personal belief, what needs to be done to curb substance abuse among youth and especially among youth athletes?
I will share this with you, and some people may differ with me, but I believe, right, that if we invest more money in coming up with programs like we have to keep our young people away from it before they get familiar with it, I think we have a better chance at reaching our youngsters. There's a lot of money that goes into taking care of and helping addicts, helping people when they get involved with these drugs. But I just don't think that the kids have enough outlets for them to do the things that will keep their idle mind away from the curiosity of drugs, right? We're fortunate, we have, a group of young folks that want to play football, and because they want to play football, we're also able to take and say, hey, listen, while you're here, we can talk to you about, we're going to talk to you about something that you need to hear. But what about those youngsters that can't afford to sign up for football? What about those youngsters that can't afford to partake in youth sports, right? How do we reach them? And I know it's difficult trying to find pockets of money to spend on athletics, right? But there needs to be a concerted effort to understand that if we can grab a youngster and give him an outlet, right, of something that he wants to do, it takes away the time that he can spend finding things to do wrong and also being subjected to peer pressure and the other things that are out there that really bad things look for idle minds. And when you're involved, when your time is being used for some positive things, listen, that's more time that you have. That's less time that you have to really even be attracted by some of the devilish things that drugs just unfortunately provides to our young people.
Absolutely. Coach Joe, thank you so much for all the wisdom and insight you've given us today. For our viewers at home, that was Joseph DeVane, the grant coordinator at the Delaware Ducks, as well as an assistant football coach at the Caravel Academy Buccaneers. My name is Jacob Donn, and we'll see you next time on Talk About It.